This is a great song. It's still a good song. It's still a good song. I've got a really weak ass signal. I have no idea coming in. We'll see. We'll just have to see. Son of a bitch. Great opening line there. If you're this down, hopefully this will work. Hopefully this will work. I have got so many electronics and whatnot stacked up right now that it's kind of an who I'm afraid is it's going to just take one wag of that big ass tail and this whole thing comes crashing down. So we'll have to see. If you can hear and see me okay, please drop a comment on whatever platform you happen to be on so I can make sure that this is working. I'm told that my signal is not very good, probably because we have multiple devices going on right now. Oh, I just went up a bar, so maybe it's better now. I'm sorry about the glare on my, maybe I won't wear glasses, but then I can't see you guys, so we'll see. Anyway, if for some reason you are to the show, it's not a regularly scheduled show. This is just something I want to do because normally when I'm in a bad place, oh, there's Joy. Hello, Joy. Coming out here or going live, talking to you guys just seems to help with some cool things. Hello, B. I'm going to call you B. Thanks, B. And that's perfect. Okay, so we're rocking. Anyway, yeah. So and Lori say hello, Lori. What's going on here behind me is I'm burning a. Let's see, do I have the? Anyway, a digital 8 cassette to my hard drive. I've got. I had over 100 VHS tapes and probably another 50 or so of these little DV cassettes that I've slowly burning onto my hard drive and then turning them to. Okay, I'm gonna show up. There it is. Oh, it works. Check that out. I can do that now. Hey, this is pretty sweet. I'm very excited. So yeah, all these videotapes, and I've been slowly turning them onto my hard drive and then turning them into this show on YouTube called My High School X, which if you are not subscribed to YouTube and be watching now, the hell you subscribe to the channel, for God's sake. And this is one of the tapes. I just thought I would go ahead and burn. This particular tape is the third of my original play called 102. I did 2 different productions in high school, my sophomore year and my senior year, and then I did this again at my theater company, Is What It Is, back in, I don't know what year it was. Joy can tell you. She knows better than I can. She knows better than I do about most things, actually, if not everything. And watching this and kind of remembering the show and the process made me think of a couple of things that I thought might be kind of fun to talk about. And we can also talk about whatever you guys want to. So if you've got questions, come chime on in any old time. That's totally fine. The first story that I want to tell you about, though, is the audition process. I'm a very handy director. I very much rely on improv during my auditions because as a director and being in theater for 22 years, I came to the conclusion that, you know what, anybody can memorize a monologue, polish it, and make it look great. That doesn't mean you're the right person for my show. 2004. That sounds right. So yeah, I appreciate and respect the whole, 2 contrasting monologues, 2 minutes long, blah, 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 whatever. But I never use them in my auditions. I really preferred improv because I need to know as the director if you and I can communicate more than anything. You can be the greatest actor on earth, but if we can't communicate, if I can't get you to understand my vision, and if we can't work together, for the next 6 to 8 weeks or whatever, then this isn't going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter. And I have not cast people against the wishes of my producers, as a matter of fact. Not frequently, twice. There was a communication gap. So rely a lot on improvisation. For this show is, to call it a tragedy is not even close. Like one of the reviewers just had catastrophic things to say about this show because I just hit every dramatic thing that could happen to a person, like just like a checklist. Like there's death, and then there's terrible consequences for sex, and there's parenting, and they're like just all these the week things crammed into this hour and a half show. I was young. I still do it in my books, but anyway. Um, so one of the characters in the story is an abusive father. You got to have one of those. I mean, come on, who needs one of those? And one of the guys who showed up, his name was Adam, and I knew him. I had known Adam for a few years, and he wasn't somebody who community, but he showed up. Like, okay, that's cool. And Adam, man, Adam is that guy. He's one of those guys. He shows up and everybody smiles and everybody goes, Adam's here. It's like Norm, when Norm shows up to the bar. For those of you who are old enough to remember Norm, like he's just a great guy. It's a genuine, kind, funny. He's a big guy. He's, kind of takes his time getting places and what. But he's so and not yet. There was only one part for him. For alcoholic father, and I'm like, there's no, and like, and when he shows up, like, there's no in hell Adam can do this part. There's God, and I feel bad because he's a friend, and like, I can't do it, So the night of the auditions, one of the nights of the audition, I don't know, 3 or 4 guys who show up, and they're all suitable for this particular role. And being an improvisational director, I said, okay, here's what we're going to do, guys. Here's what we're going to do. I took one of my actresses who ended up being cast in the role of the young girl who is abused in this show, in this story. And I'd worked with her on several shows prior to this, so we had a great relationship. And I could trust her with this, and we trusted each other very much, which is what we're going to get to in just a minute. I'm like, okay, here's the exercise. I want all my guys who are auditioning for this abusive stepfather role, going to line up over here. This actress, I'm going to have her stand center stage in front of a chair. You guys are going to come up one at a time, and you get about 60 seconds to intimidate her. And once she feels, she's in character, right? Once she feels intimidated by whatever it is you're doing, she's going to sit down, and that's the end of the exercise. We'll go on to the next guy. The rule is you cannot touch her. There's no touching whatsoever. You just have to use your voice, use your presence, do whatever to intimidate her enough that she feels like, okay, he's done a good job. I'm going to sit down. Very naturally, I don't want to speak ill of the other guys who were there, but very naturally, the guys, the first 2, and just started yelling. They're like drills, and they're screaming and cussing, whatever. And this chick, she's not a pushover. She's kind of taking it, listens to him, and then maybe down, maybe doesn't. No big deal. Clearly not super intimidated by all the yelling and the screaming. Then Adam comes up. And again, Adam, sweetheart, just kind, genuine, lovely human being. Adam comes up, stands a little bit behind her, and just kind of looks over her shoulder for a minute, very quietly. And then he says, "You think this is pretty?" And that girl dropped, like just boom, absolutely dropped to the chair instantly. And like all of us who were watching in the audience were just like, oh, like, holy fuck. Like that was and as soon as she sat down, Adam's, I'm sorry. We're like, no, it's okay. And we're going to the actress, like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. It was just it was just chilling. And then you could see there was one more guy after Adam. He's like, I got, and like, what am I supposed to do now? There's nothing I can do to, and Adam ultimately won the role with that one line. You think this is pretty? Oh my God. It was just chilling and brilliant. And I've never forgotten. And Adam did a wonderful job on stage. And I think to play a role like, almost have to be a nice guy, right? You have to be kind. You have to have that inherent goodness in you in order to work with this very young actor. She was, I want to say 15 or 16, I think at the time. She might've been 18, but I don't think so. But again, going back to that there has to be this level of trust when you're doing a show like this, where there's so much tragedy and there's so much angst and there's so much drama and melodrama and whatever. And to work with an actor like this, regardless of your age, who you can give that much trust to, is supremely important. on stage. 22 years in theater, man, and that's, in retrospect, one of the things that I probably took for granted in a lot of ways. How much trust we had to have on stage as actors, how much trust we had to give over to the director, and vice versa. Not to mention the tech crew and the building guy. Everyone who's building stuff. This had to be safe. I was just talking to somebody. I was doing a virtual school event just I think last night, and talked to these students about how, if you're not familiar with theater, a theater and an auditorium is basically a construction site. Like, between all the tools and the electricity and the weights, and like, there's so much shit that can go wrong in an auditorium. That there's a very high level of professionalism, whether you're working in high school or you're working on Broadway. It doesn't matter. There's this level of professionalism expected from the entire cast and crew, and if you can't meet that expectation, you're done, because you're not safe. The actors and directors specifically, there's also this level of emotional trust, right? You're kind of handing your soul to other people and trusting that no matter what happens on the stage, they're not going to crush it. They're not going to stomp on it. Lots of different directors do lots of different things. Now, I was never that director to like force you or try to force you to plumb the depths of your childhood trauma to get the performance out of you. Like, that's not my job. It's not my business. And if you choose to do that on your own as an actor for your character work, that's your business, and that's great. And I talk about this in my writing classes all the time, right? We talk about emotional memory and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to do that as an actor, and I might even tell you or encourage you or ask, like, have you done this kind of homework? But I don't need to know the story. For God's sake, I don't need to know what the actual basis is for what you're doing with this character, okay? That's just not how I work. I've heard stories of other directors in theater and film who like yell and scream and try to make people feel bad and get nervous and upset and make them draw out all these terrible things that happen to them, and that's just bullshit. And I'm telling you right now, if any of you are in theater or thinking about it, or if you have kids who are getting ready to go into theater in high school maybe or something like that, if you hear anything about that, that's bullshit. I'm telling you right now. It's absolute bullshit. There is no reason for directors to treat their actors that way, or for actors to treat each other that way. Okay. Having said that, yes, it's a very emotional thing that we do. It's again, this level of trust amongst the cast and crew that is really, really necessary. So when I was thinking about Adam and thinking about that audition in particular, and how well he did, and how well my other actor on stage, this young girl, took the direction and took what he did with the performance, it made me think of another time on stage that was very, very trying. And this is when I had the wonderful opportunity to be in a stage production of A Clockwork Orange here in town. It was with Stray Cat Theater. No idea what year it was, but it was before. No, it wasn't. No, it was after 2004. Because it was after. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You're thinking of Impending Rupture of the Belly. That's right. Anyway, so I got to be in Clockwork Orange. Super cool show. When I got the part and then started reading the script, I discovered there is a rape scene in Clockwork Orange. I'd never seen the movie. I didn't really know that much about the show at all, or about the story. So I'm like, oh, this is new. This is not something I have ever had to do on stage or on screen before. Like, I've had very chaste kisses on stage. Like, that's about the extent of it. This is literally a rape scene. I don't know about this. And so we go into the rehearsal process. Now, I trust, again, there's that word, I trust the director implicitly. He is one of the best directors working today, as far as I'm concerned. And so I trusted him. Like, okay, we're going to go through the rehearsal process and we're going to see kind of where this goes. Well, what ends up happening is there's a lot of combat in the show. There's a lot of fighting and whatever, but it's very stylized. The director takes it in this kind of different direction where we're not actually doing stage combat against one another, but it's this stylized, almost like a dance choreography, which was really cool and really fun to do and really fun to watch. It was a very different take on combat. Then we get to this scene. And I'm kind of hanging out in the back like, I don't know what we're going to do about this, bro. I'm feeling kind of nervous. I don't know. But he ends up blocking the scene in such a way that these four droogs, Alex and his droogs, I think that's the right word, but Alex and his henchmen are never going to touch her. And I'm like, oh, well then that's cool. Like, how, all right, sounds good. I'm on board. Then we block the scene. And what he does, what the director has us do is Alex, right? I'm saying, yeah, it's Alex, has like a pipe or just a length of sticks. So he has some kind of club-like weapon and gives it to her. Okay. From that point on, the rest of us who are in the scene are making sound effects and stomping and all this kind of stuff and saying horrific things. And she is doing all the physical work to herself. So, like, instead of one of us punching her in the stomach, which is kind of what the script called for, she takes this pipe and drags it into her own stomach. So it's like, oh! So she hits herself there. She ultimately ends up throwing herself down on the stage floor on her back with her legs flipped over, this way, holding the backs of her knees with this pipe so that she's just up out to the world. She's fully clothed during all this, by the way. All of us are fully clothed. And it was like, so that part alone was kind of like, Jesus, this is really fucking, okay, it's intense. But we're not done yet. The next part of the direction is that we have come in with a bottle of alcohol, like some kind of clear alcohol, vodka, whatever the hell it was. And it's obviously it's water on stage, but it's supposed to be whatever, clear alcohol. And one by one, the Droogs, Alex and the Droogs, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm remembering, it was a long time ago. You'll have to forgive me. Take a swig from the bottle, stand over her, and spit it onto her in character in various ways. So, for example, the guy who went before me takes a swig and then he stood on one foot and kind of did this like fountain, very, slow, smooth stream onto her while she's on her back. But nobody's touching her, squealing and making noises and shaking and, struggling. And one of the other guys who was in front of him just like took a swig and just spit it like really hard. And then we got, and I think I was last in line if I'm not mistaken. And I don't like drinking or eating after people. Like even my wife and children, I don't eat or drink after them. It's a thing. But I'm like the last guy in line and I have to do it. It's the one bottle. So the guy hands it to me and I'm like, shit, I don't want to drink after this guy. So I stop and just kind of stare down at her and wipe the top with my shirt while I'm looking at her. Do that for a minute and then take my drink and spit it on her. Purely for selfish reasons. And then from the house, I hear the director going, oh my God, that's perfect. Keep it. I'm like, fuck, really? Okay. But let me tell you, that scene was remarkably effective. And it was chilling. I mean, when you consider the fact that none of us touched her, never came close to her. Again, no one was naked. No one, it was just this one actress, doing stage combat against herself, basically, while we spit this water on. Like there was something so goddamn degrading about it. And it's a tough place to go as an actor. That I've never had to do it. I never did anything like that before. I've never had to do anything like that since. And it was uncomfortable as shit. To be able to do that, to be able to have that level of commitment to the scene, commitment to the director's vision, and trust in one another is not something most people experience in their day-to-day lives. Whereas actors, theater people, artists, storytellers, we have to live there, in order to authentically tell our stories, we have to live in that space of trust. Now, it's a little different, I think. Pardon me. It's a little different, I think, when we're talking about writers and readers. But I still think that level of trust exists. I still think that space, that sort of gray area of like, as the writer and storyteller, I'm going to bring you the truth as I see it. I'm going to try to present that truth as authentically as I possibly can. And maybe not every writer does this. I do, particularly writing in the young adult genre. Like that's just kind of, you have to be authentic. Otherwise you're done. And so I'm inviting you into that space. This is where certain reviews can be tough, because when a reviewer attacks a story, cool, feel free. That's your, you have every right to do that. But when they attack the author for the story, then we get into this very, very bad space where I feel like that relationship gets a little tenuous, is a polite word. I'm sure there are bigger, better words than tenuous. Messed up is another phrase, possibly. Um, and almost dangerous, I think. Now, I'm happy to report that most of the reviews that I get, they're about the story. And if you don't like the story, that's all right, cool, right? But when a reviewer, again, whether professional or not, because this happened in theater too, we're getting, anywhere from 2, 3, 4, up to 6 reviews for every show. And it's so critical for those reviewers to stick to the production and to not go after the actors or the director or whatever. And 9.5 times out of 10, that's exactly what they did. Our reviewers were professional and they stuck to the story. But that was in the days before, Goodreads, right? Where anybody with access to their phone can just say, this book sucks, and the author is a fill in the blank, whatever, terrible word you want to use. And that gets tough, because then, much like on stage, where we're doing scenes, whether it's a scene as intense as in Clockwork Orange, or something not quite as intense but still very emotionally, vulnerable. If that gets violated, you can feel it, number one, from the audience. You can kind of sense something shift in the air. And the same, I think, is true for storytellers of kind of any kind, and the casual amateur reviewer. There's nothing wrong with casual amateur reviewers at all. That's perfectly fine. We like them. That's fantastic. The difference here is that most of our theater critics were trained to do these critiques, and I have to believe that was part of the training. Whether that training was formal or informal, I have to believe that was part of it. That you're not going after the tellers of the tale; you're going after the tale itself. Perfectly legitimate. And when we get, I'm kind of speaking broadly for all the storytellers that I know, when we get bad reviews, negative reviews, or whatever that are personal, when there's no way for this reviewer to know us personally, man, and furthermore, the sort of default that I was taught anyway, when my first novel came out, was that you don't engage with reviewers, whether it's good or bad. You just don't. We're encouraged to not go to Goodreads, which I'm pretty good about doing. That's the baseline. Don't go to Goodreads. But we're encouraged to not, don't go to Goodreads, don't read your reviews, just, keep on trucking, whatever. Of course, all of us end up going anyway. But there have been bad reviews that are like, yeah, that's legit. I see what you're saying about the story or whatever. There's been a couple of bad reviews that I really took to heart. I was like, wow, that's a really good insight. I won't make that mistake again in the future. Like, that really happens. And then there's a small percentage, a small handful, where they had nothing to do with the story and they were coming after me. And when that happens, it's like, whoa, okay, and now we're done. Now the trust is broken. Quote unquote, I don't want to do another show with you. You know what I mean? It makes going back to the job a little bit harder than it was the day before, because now you're going, but what if this story, somebody comes at me for this thing that I wrote or that thing that I wrote, I don't have a solution. I don't know that there's, part of the solution is, as a storyteller, you just got to deal with it, and you grow a thick skin, and you just roll with it, because what else are you going to do? The other option is to quit. And I have quit many times, only to find myself right back here doing this very thing. But yeah, I just got to thinking about that today, about those two theater things in particular, and about trust and how crucial that is. That same actress who was in Clockwork Orange, I had the privilege of directing in an earlier show, and it was another intense show. It's kind of a murder mystery thriller kind of thing. And towards the end of the show, the character rather, has a knife to her throat, and we're running the scene, and the guy who's doing it, and he's got the knife here, and he's muttering all these terrible things into her ear, and she's just bawling. I mean, like visibly, you could see them dropping off her chin. And I'm like, and I checked out as the director. I stopped watching the scene and became just a regular person, going, are you okay? Because something, and for the last couple minutes of the scene, I remember very clearly, like, should I stop this? I can't, is she that good? or something else happening. And so I decided to let it go, and we let it go. And as soon as that scene was over, I jumped up, was like, stop, everybody, cut, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. Everything. Yeah. Well, because you're a wreck, because you're a fucking wreck right now. What's going on? Oh no, it's like, is this thing that happened when I was a senior in high school? It's fine. I'm like, okay, everybody take 10. You and me, come here. What the, like, okay, I don't need to know what happened. Don't tell me what happened. But you're saying something happened, and this blocking is clearly impacting you. She's like, yeah, well, I'm using it. I'm like, I don't know if I want you using it. We're just having a good time at the theater. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't. And so we chatted about it for a while, and ultimately she convinced me, like, no, I'm doing my work. This is fine. It's great, and it looks good, right? I'm like, it looks fucking amazing. In fact, she may have gotten an award for that, or at least was nominated. I don't remember now. I think she may have. She certainly deserved it because it was an amazing performance. But we had to talk about it. We definitely had this conversation about it because it was nerve-wracking, the level of commitment that she brought to that. And once again, the guy she was opposite in the scene wasn't Adam, totally different guy. But the guy who was in the scene was just a lovely human being, really great guy, which was what made him so much fun as a bad guy. Nice guys can make some of the best bad guys, I think. Anyway, level of trust, blah, 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 things like that. Just got me kind of thinking about that. So anyway, that's really all I had. If anybody's got any questions or anything about any of this, feel free to jump in. Unless I haven't missed any comments, have I? Oh my God. You haven't been like commenting this whole time, have you? No, I don't think so. Okay, so that's good. So I haven't missed anybody, I don't think. Oh yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, 102, I learned, so 102 was originally a novel that I started writing in high school. I never quite finished it, and then I later turned it into a play that I directed sophomore year. First play I ever directed, back when it was called I Want to Be Free. And if that's not melodramatic for you, I don't know what to tell you. And then I rewrote it a little bit and got to do it again senior year. My friend Matt here playing the same role that he played in high school, but like, God, 92 to like 12 to 15 years later when he's actually the right age to play the part. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, super melodramatic. And I definitely took that melodrama into the rest of my novels, like Party. If you've read Party, if you think Party was melodramatic, you should have read the first draft. Everybody died. Like it was wholesale slaughter. You guys, I killed everybody in that book. Until my agent at the time, who was very editorial, was like, let's maybe not kill everybody. Let's back up a little bit. I did the same thing with Sick. Sick originally, which you have to read if you haven't read Sick, my zombie novel. I killed fucking everybody in this book. I was so bloodthirsty for this novel. And again, my agent, different agent at the time, was like, yeah, maybe don't kill everybody off. Let's find a few people who can live. I'm like, all right, fine. Like, I just had this penchant for penchant. I don't know how you say that, for killing people. Because how much more melodramatic can you get? This thing gets, I mean, yeah, it is super melodramatic. The second production, though, I'll never forget. I have it on video. I cast a girl who I didn't like at the time. She'd been in a couple of other shows. She was, I think, a freshman, maybe a sophomore, my senior year. And God, I just thought she was awful. She was so bad. And I was like, oh God, she's auditioning. But then she read, and I was like, that was kind of good. Come back and read again. So I kept calling her back in. And ultimately I was like, God, she's, I feel like this is a gamble. But she came into the audition so unassuming, and so not full of herself, and just like very comfortable in her own skin, and really fit the character well. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna roll the dice on this. I'm gonna go ahead and cast her. Best decision I made. She knocked that role out of the park. She had this monologue in the second act that was directly to the audience that I still remember to this day. That was brilliant, and she as the character, she was crying on stage. But one of the big rules about, I don't know if it's a rule, but one of the things I was taught as an actor is you never actually cry on stage. You don't like break down sobbing, because if you do that, then the audience loses the catharsis. I don't know if that's true, but I've always played it that way as a director, as an actor. You never cry. The audience cries, you don't cry. And she's delivering this monologue, and it's so just heart-wrenching. And she's crying, but she doesn't let it get here. It's just tears coming down her face. And even on the videotape, you can see this one tear just drop down off her chin. It's just gorgeous. I'm so glad that I caught it. And the thing I remember most about that production, I don't remember if it was opening night or not. It's probably opening night. But the cast got a standing ovation, which at my high school was not something people just threw out there. Hey guys, thanks for tuning. I see Anthony, and I don't know how to say Iorengus. I don't know who you are. But I'm glad you're here, and you're on Twitch, so that's cool. Thank you guys for poking in. Feel free to jump in. But yeah, it was just brilliant. And they got this standing ovation, and we didn't get standing ovations at my school ever. So the fact that they got one was just amazing. And the best part about that standing ovation that I really liked is that the audience waited until everybody came out. There's one thing that I really dislike about in theater about standing ovations is when oh, you're on both places, Anthony? Is that okay? That's cool. All right. What was I saying? Oh yeah, they like 3 or 4 people come out and everyone's applauding, and then like a couple of other people. It happens. Oh, you know what? It happens in Les Mis all the time. Like everyone's clapping, and then the Thénardiers, or however you say that, the innkeepers come out, and then everybody goes fucking apeshit for them. And I'm like, what about everybody else? You got like commit, like do it when everybody's out, or wait. Like it just makes me mad. It's a thing. Anyway. So yeah, second show, they got that standing ovation. I was like, they so deserved it. And I remember going backstage to this actor and give her a hug. And I was like, don't ever forget this. Don't ever forget this. Yeah, it was just great. It's one of those happy things that happen. Oh yeah, here's mom. Mom's all checked out. She's not even on drugs necessarily. She's just mentally totally checked out. Totally unresponsive. It was pretty. It's so bad. No, I don't mean that. No, it's not that it's bad. It's just here comes. So there's Adam. You guys probably can't see him. There's Adam coming out there being a bad guy. I miss you, Adam. I know you're not watching right now, but I miss you, Adam. You're a good guy. But I don't know if you could see that. Did you catch that? That was a bold fucking choice right there. Theater is all about the bold choices, and so is writing. Any kind of storytelling. He comes in, he's the stepfather, if I remember correctly. He's a stepfather. This is a stepdaughter right there. He's found a pack of cigarettes, and he's flipping out on her there. I could probably, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Yeah, there you go. So he's gonna beat the shit out of her here in just a second. We're not gonna see it, but that's where this is headed. But you probably couldn't tell. But when he came in, he touched his wife's hair and head. I don't think he kissed her, but it was a very loving contact that he made with her, only to then step into the stepdaughter's room and go fucking crazy on her. That's fucking cool. That's layers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a simple thing. I have no idea. I can't remember that far back. I don't know if that's something I instructed him to do. I don't know if that was a direction, or if it's something that he just came up with. But what a great choice. What a great way to give more depth to this character, because anybody can be, and again, you know, the way he auditioned for the part, anybody can be the abusive asshole. It's really easy to yell and stomp and scream and blah, 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 and whatever. But to come up with something like that where, yeah, but I still love my wife. He's clearly got some kind of issues with the kids. All right, that's fair. But there's more to him than that. And anytime you can do that in your writing, man, you got to go for it. You really got to go for it. So this is stage combat, by the way. If you're not a theater person, this is stage combat. Some people who are not theater kids may look at this and say, oh yeah, he's grabbing her by the chin, whatever. Like, I do that all the time. Like, no. This is stage combat. This is something we blocked out beat by beat by beat. Because in theater, you don't just run up and grab somebody by the face. You don't just slap them. You don't just, this kind of stuff, it doesn't have to be a sword fight. It doesn't have to be a gunfight. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out, epic battle like in Romeo and Juliet or Macbeth or something like that. Something as quote unquote simple as grabbing someone's chin like that, that's stage combat, and you break that shit down. Why? Because of the trust. Goes back to the top of the show, right? Because you have to establish that level of trust. The actors have to know that when you do this, you're gonna be safe. Because let me tell you, from personal experience, the worst sin you can commit on stage is to be something that's been choreographed and screw it up and hurt somebody. I have done it. It's been done to me. And the worst of the two is when you do it to somebody else. It sucks. You just feel like such a piece of shit. Rightly so. It only has to happen once, believe me. And it never happens again. That's probably my stereo. You gotta love community theater, everybody. You just gotta. Ooh, see, that was a slap. That was a slap. Boom. And the belt's coming off. We're done. And lights out. Boom. Gotta love it. I'm gonna put this up. I know he's not watching Joy, but I'm gonna put this up there anyway because he's the credit. Incredible. Whole cast was good. We were lucky. I was lucky. Auditions, because my favorite thing about shows is auditions. That's really my favorite, is to get up on their feet and doing crazy shit and seeing the stuff that comes out of it. Oh, okay. Take care, Lori. Thank you. Thanks for coming. It's like, God, I'm like trying to figure out what. Okay, got it. Anyway, oh, there we go. So here's Anthony again, coming in on Twitch, which is so cool. The Abusive Husband for the Church play. Yeah, this was very Adam. We knew Adam from church at the time, as a matter of fact, which I don't know, take it what sense thou wilt. But yeah, that's, it's funny, Anthony, that you bring that up, because, I mean, talk about triggering. Like, there was shit in this show that 100% was triggering before we knew what triggering was. In hindsight, I can look back at that and be like, wow, that was, yeah. But I do think that's one of the great values, though, too, whether it's on stage or a book or whatever, to, I don't know if catharsis is the right word, but, it's not even for me. I wouldn't even argue that's catharsis. It's the acknowledgement that, oh, so it's not just me. Probably all of you who are tuning in right now have heard me talk about the novel Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson, one of my all-time favorite novels, which I'm going to be blogging about here very shortly because it deserves to be blogged about. And that book, in the story, the main character, Melinda, is sexually assaulted. Well, that wasn't necessarily something that happened to me, or at least not in the way that it happened to her, but that's not the point. The point is the stuff that she goes through after the fact was like, oh my God, like, Laurie Halse Anderson, have you read my journals? Have you looked inside my soul? How did you do this, right? And I don't know. It doesn't really matter how she knew, but she knew, and she put it in this story. And I can't emphasize enough the power and responsibility that goes with being seen. Whether that's an author or an actor, director, musician, whatever, when a performer, when a storyteller says or does something to you, for you, that makes you feel seen and recognized, like that's a life changer. And that's why all these stories mean so much to us. I can objectively step back. I've directed over 30 plays in my life. I did 22 years in theater, directed over 30 shows. I've been in over 30 shows, not counting all these little one-off, improv performances and blah, blah, blah that I did over the years. And I can safely say 102 is not the best show that I directed. It's not. It's certainly not the best show that I wrote, because I haven't written very many. Playwriting is a very different skill than writing novels. I can do it. It's not really going to be that great. I haven't studied it yet. But it was good. It was a good show. And we had good actors. And I'm proud of the work they did. I'm proud of the entire cast. I'm proud of my tech crew. We did, I think, a really bang up job with the show. I just know that it's no talk radio. It's no The Woodsman. And I'm pissed that none of you saw The Woodsman. Holy shit, was that a great show. My God. Oh, that was amazing. So anyway, sorry. Yes, 1 or 2. It is a good show, and I'm very proud of the show. I'm very proud of the cast. They had a heavy burden to carry this melodrama that I sort of saddled them with, and they did it expertly. Um, and I'm sure, like Anthony's saying about the put that back up on the screen here for a second. Um, Playing a role like that and having audience members, visibly and very tangibly, physically affected by it. I mean, that's a huge responsibility, and it wields an enormous power, and it's not one that storytellers should take lightly, regardless of the format, whether the actors, directors, writers, musicians, doesn't matter. Um, that's the sort of power we have, and we have to be very careful with it. And if I ever don't, by all means, let me know, because I need to know that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we're coming up on 9 o'clock, so that's like about 45 minutes, which is pretty cool. Yeah, good job, everybody. Well done. Because the other thing that's funny about being a storyteller, as we wrap up, is that it doesn't matter what you're going through. Now, this is particularly true of actors. We still have to do the work. Like as an author, if I'm having a tough time, which is frequently the last year and a half to 7 years, I don't have to write today. I can go to the park or do whatever. Yes, Anthony, absolutely. Go ahead and put it in there, man. I can take a break. I can stop if I need to. If you're an actor, if you're a professional actor, or even a non-professional actor for that matter, and you're having a tough time, and as I recall, some of our actors were having they were in very difficult times in their life. It happens every show. People, it's life. People just go through shit. But you still got to show up, and you got to leave that shit at the door. That's one of the great things about training in theater. My friend Jason and I talk about this all the time because we still do so much in-person, talks or speeches or presentations or whatever, MC, that kind of stuff. We're always ready to be on in a moment's notice because we have trained for years to learn how to shut that off, leave it at the door, do our jazz hands for the audience, and then pick it right back up when we leave. That's very different from being an author or a musician, poet, whatever, where you can take a couple days off, and maybe I don't work on the story today because I can't handle it. Mentally, I'm unprepared for it, or I'm not feeling well, or whatever. We can do that. If you're an actor, shit, man, tough. Suck it up. I still have that shirt. That's one of my death shirts. So you gotta respect the actors, man. And I've been in some shows where I was miserable, but the show must go on, right? The show must go on. Okay, here's Anthony's question. Anthony, I'm gonna go ahead and put this up on the screen so everybody can see it. I enjoy telling stories. I don't know what medium I want to use. To be honest, I don't enjoy writing. I just enjoy telling stories that I come up with. That is, first of all, Anthony, let me tell you this. That is an amazing and wonderful insight into yourself. I appreciate that you are being honest with yourself about that, because a lot of people aren't. In fact, I just posted earlier today on Twitter. Was it Twitter? No, it wasn't. No, it was a blog that I wrote. Haven't posted it yet. Anyway, but somebody wrote on Quora and said, I really want to, I want to write a book, but I don't know what to write. Where do I get it? Where can I get some ideas? And I'm like, why? Okay. And then how do I start? And I was like, you start by asking yourself, why do you want to write a book? Like what's motivating you to want to write this book? Because most people who are writing a book had an idea and started writing it down. You're coming at it from the other end of the process, saying, I want to have written a book, but you don't have an idea yet. That's fine. I get it, but really sit down and ask yourself why. So what I love about this question, I don't know what medium to use, and to be honest, I don't enjoy writing. I just enjoy telling stories that I come up with. That is a great first step, Anthony. Let me just impress that upon you. Number one, a lot of people don't have that self-awareness, and it's going to cost them later. It's going to make them very unhappy. So what I would say, though, you use the word, and feel free to respond in the comments as we're doing this. You use the word telling stories. So I assume that means that you enjoy speaking them. Is that right? Because if that's the case, I think you have several options. We all have several options now in the present era. And I can show you what one of them is. It's this bad boy right here. You've got one of these, I'm pretty sure. there are 18 different ways to tell a story with this little device. You do not have to write. And if writing isn't what, if you don't enjoy writing, don't write. Don't. Thank you. Thank you to yourself for your honesty. You know what I mean? If speaking the stories is the thing that you like, dude, podcast or vlog or live stream or another option, if you have the patience, I use an app called, so on my iPhone, there's the speech to text option on your notes app. It will shut off every 60 to 90 seconds or so. So it gets to be kind of a pain in the ass. I use a free app called Just Press Record. And that is another speech to text app where it's just a dictation. You just dictate the whole thing. You can dictate, period, new paragraph, exclamation point, et cetera, et cetera. And then you end up with a whole block of text, and you can cut and paste it, and then you can go back and edit it if you want to. I've been doing that for articles and blogs lately. So that's another option. And then Anthony says, yes, I can share my stories with anyone, anytime. Put this on the screen. Just writing scares me, maybe lack of practice. Again, like I always encourage people to write. I think it's a good thing to be able to do. But for our purposes and the way I think you're asking the question, like, if you like telling stories, and I believe you do, then just speak them. You can improvise them live. With my background and training, I could do that right now. I could ask for a prompt and whip out a story super fast. I do it with my 3-year-old for night time. Some, Sarah the Snake and the Dragon and the Castle, and blah, and I'm just making this shit up as I go, because I've trained to do that. And maybe as I say that, you're like, oh, fuck that. Like, okay, cool. Then don't go live. Use your camera on your phone and just, go to a park or somewhere where there's some good natural light and just, improvise your story or whatever, video record it, or record the audio, do a speech to text, just do an audio. There's so many formats available to you, dude, that are free. Like the amount of shit you can do for free online is just staggering. And I'm just now getting the tip of the iceberg. In any case, Anthony, I would encourage you to do it. And here is why. Number one, if you enjoy it, it's worth doing. Number two, I guarantee you, somebody in the world wants and needs the stories you're telling. I can't promise that it's 10 million people, but it might be 10, or it might be 100 or 1,000 or whatever. And you only need 1,000, right? Doesn't matter. But seriously, cruise through Amazon for a couple of hours on Kindle, and you'll quickly learn there is a story for everyone. So I encourage you to do that. And it's not something that has to take a lot of time. There's the internet and the resources we have online right now. I mean, this app right now, what we're doing literally right now, this is all web-based. And free. Like, shit, that's amazing. So I would say, what I was going to say was, it doesn't have to be, a 30-minute show every week or whatever. It can be TikTok. I mean, Jesus, look at what people are doing on TikTok right now. I can barely keep up with that thing. That's 15 seconds, or maybe it's a minute. Do you have minute-long stories? Okay, if they're 5-minute stories, cool. Maybe it's an Instagram thing. You can, and this is something I'm still learning how to do, you can totally, write something or record something, record the audio of you telling the story, edit it. I'm sure there's free software out there you can edit with. It's probably already on your phone or laptop or tablet or whatever you're using. And then put it on YouTube using free B-roll footage from, Pexels or Unsplash or whatever. All this shit's for free. If you're like, I don't want to be on camera, I don't like how I look, I'm uncomfortable, cool. Use B-roll and just use your voice. Or, you can, God damn, there's so many. I hope you're writing this down. No, there's just so many options available to you, and not only available to all of us, but available to your level of comfort. That's the main thing. I don't mind going live like this. To me, this is just live theater. Only it's safer because I can just stop anytime too, and I can't forget my lines, which is why I stopped doing theater. So yeah, there are so many options available to your level of comfort. I would just poke around in some of them and get busy. If you can make it a regular thing, great. I think consistency Everything I've learned says consistency is what really works for these formats. But if not, that's okay. Just get started. The main thing is to get started. Totally get started. Yeah, to submit my first page. Yeah, we haven't done a first page Sunday in a while, so you haven't missed anything. But you can always send it to me anyway. Just email me or DM me or something like that. I'm happy to take a look at a first page of anything you've got, dude. Because why the hell not? So yeah, I hope that helps, and I hope that we will hear or see or read something of yours soon. Because the main bit of like, yeah, if you enjoy it, then damn, let's do it. That's all thing is. I keep telling everybody, whatever that thing is, do it. And if it's not storytelling, cool. If it's golf, fine. But you got to do it. And don't forget to support your local theater when it's safe to go back. Because you can find some real gems out there. There is some, I community this reputation of being kind of chintzy or whatever, and that's 100% true. God knows I've directed my share of them. But you can also find some really, really cool stuff and people taking some really, really cool risks. If you're anywhere near the Valley of the Sun, if you're anywhere near the Phoenix area, I don't know what they're doing right now. Anytime you can support someone like Stray Cat or Nearly Naked, absolutely go do that, because they just put out great stuff. They really do every time at bat. So yeah. Anyway, so up on the top of the hour. So that was pretty cool. Thank you all of you for tuning in tonight. Oh, don't forget, I had this written down. If for some godforsaken reason not on my email list, make sure you do that immediately. I'm going to put that, maybe I can put this on here. I'm going to type this. It's at tomlevine.com/signup. tomlevine.com/sign. I'm going to see if I can do it. Does that show up? Hey, look at that. All three. That's so badass. And I'm going to show it on the screen. I'm really digging this. So I'm using StreamYard right now. Thank you, StreamYard. This is working very well. An error occurred on Facebook, naturally. Of course it did. Why did I say somebody else's fucking business name? So sick of you guys, man. I am so sick of that fucking platform. Anyway. So yeah, make sure you sign up for that. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be launching something really cool for Patreon, particularly if you're a fan of Party or if you're a fan of any of my YAs. If you're a fan of any of my stuff, you really are going to want to check this out, because it's going to be pretty epic. You don't want to miss out. That's coming up in about 2 weeks. I'll be putting out some information about that and a calendar thing that you can let me know there. I'm really hoping to do like 50 or more people to share this. It'll be a live stream, in person. Like 50 people to show up. They're super, super cool. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. Make sure you keep an eye out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Tumblr. I'm on all these places. It's kind of silly. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you once again for coming, Anthony. Thank you for the question, man. I really appreciate that. I love doing that, as you know. I love Q&A. So if you guys want to do this again, let me know. Send an email, something like that. DM, whatever they're called these days. I don't even know. We'll be doing some, yeah. Thank you, Anthony. I'm glad you caught us as well. Like us being everybody, like the royal us. All right, guys. Take care. Everybody be safe, and we will see you very, very soon. Thank you, John. I'm so glad you're here. Be safe, everybody. May you be safe. May you be happy. I think it's maybe. May you be safe. May you be well. And may you be peaceful and at ease. Something like that. I'll have to go back and check my notes, but maybe all of those things. We'll see you. Take care.